Okay, so here's what happened over the weekend, everyone. I got the pre-compost out, and I did some splits already. I was just way too excited to get it done, so I started without y'all. Oh boy, now everything seemed to go really well. Here's what I'm wanting to do real quick. Get these guys okay, off the top. I'm thinking of how this is going. Those are the Indian blues. They seem to like to be on top, and from what I'm gathering online, they also can take over your bin a lot faster than the red wigglers. So here's my plan, because I'm going to split these today, and then gonna make a new breeder bin. And what I want to do is somehow try to down those numbers of those Indian blues. Those are going to go to the overgrowing bin there where I've got the nurseries. And then I'm going to start my breeder bin off with, I'm going to get it down to about 15% bedding to move over to the pre-compost. I'm not sure I'm doing this 100% right. It's just kind of the way I got the feel from the bins when I went through them the last few times that I did. So what I've been doing is collecting the ones that I see with the clitellums. As I've got LED lights in here, so it's pretty bright, and they really move fast. Like, I'm working fast just to keep up. I don't want these big breeders, see, she got that clitellum, to take off on me. I want to collect as many of those as possible and then I can also, when I throw it over here, there's a second visual that I can get on them. I'm looking for the yellowtail and the clitellum. So I'm going to stock this new breeder bin with all, hopefully, red wigglers. And that'll down that number of Indian blues going in right off the get-go. And so hopefully my red wigglers are going to be able to start laying and maybe take over the population. A lot stronger than the Indian blue. Okay, that's my plan this go round. We'll see what happens. My phone is ringing, so I guarantee somebody's calling who just wants to interrupt my video. There we go. A lot of Indian blues here, so I look for that purple hue. So I basically just want this smoothed out. These are the, they're fairly moist leaves now. They'll be on the bottom. This lighter pink color too. I kind of look for that lighter pink color for these red wigglers. Now I'm okay with, I think, holdings. Well, if I take that 15%, I don't want to have to stand here and count all the time. That's my problem. So I'm wanting to kind of get them to roll on out of this soil due to the light, which they do like to do pretty quick. These over here are going to go back into my nursery. They're going to a nursery. My nurseries, I have put 2 of these tanks into the nurseries, and then I felt like they were kind of deep. I don't see how 2 of these. Okay, so I'm gonna have to go with the 3rd today. We'll look in on them. Each one has 2. One of them has 3. I had a European night crawler bin there in the Tower 1, where basically they were overflow because I thought I had them way too full, and so I ended up putting them the third layer on the top. So there's 3 bins worth of bedding in those big tanks. I started the bottom with wood shavings so I can make sure that there isn't going to be any standing water. It's all hopefully going to get absorbed into, now see there's Indian blue down low. This bin seems to have a lot of them in there. So what I'm hoping for is to reduce those numbers by doing this. We'll take them, put them all in the nursery. I don't mind them. I'm just going to use them as a diversity species there. And let them mate over there. If I want to crank out more red wigglers, that's where they're going to be here. Okay, that's my plan. Could be wrong. They may really overpopulate way faster than what I'm thinking. But if you know, comment. Have you tried to reduce their population in your bins before? Can we get rid of them that way if we have too many? Or do they decide they're just going to keep right on multiplying faster than what I can down them? Anyways, that's my plan there. I already put those others, they look like they're doing really well. The Euros are right on top. They really look, acting like they like that extra space I gave them. So I might be being way too picky here with this bedding. This substrate still has a lot of good food source left for them. So, this will be in the nurseries. They'll be foraging for a while yet. I don't feel like I'm going to need to keep feeding them. So, if I get this bin started out with plenty of worms, I'm going to take 15% off the bottom. Because what I notice is it is really loaded. The bottom layer is just super loaded when I get down there. Maybe that's bad that they're both the same. I mean, that they're different ages. So, like, he didn't have his clitellum. Like, I shouldn't be putting... I feel like they're going to do better when I do add the different ages. So, I don't mind that there's juveniles going in. You know, I think, you know, you got to want some teenagers in there. And is it possible that if we add all teenagers... will that actually increase our cocoon? You know, do teenagers just have this heightened sense of wanting to mate? And so can we boost our cocoon numbers by just selecting out the teenagers for mating and not the older breeders? Tell me if you guys have done any studies on that. Like, did you start a breeder bin with just, you know, like, mature, already breeding worms, and then start a bin with like only not juveniles, but just young teenager like worms to see, can we get a boost in our numbers by the age of the worms that we're adding there? Do they just breed a whole lot faster right off in the beginning when they first get their clitellums developed? And then kind of back off the older they get? Should I be looking for the larger? See, he doesn't have a clitellum, but he is a larger of the juveniles. So should those be what I'm choosing to restock my breeder bins with? I hope that, I mean, I don't know. You guys probably always think of this stuff, but, or hopefully me just talking here, working through this bin is giving you some ideas on what all need to be thought of. I'm researching, you know, these videos keep popping up on how these bins are unhealthy, like for the ecosystem. Like, what if I were to release these worms into the ecosystem, then I'm doing something bad. But I imagine that since our ecosystem basically doesn't have any worms in it anymore because of our agriculture practices, I mean, is it okay for a little while? I mean, we've obviously tipped it the wrong way. At some point in time, they're this Indian, you can tell them because they want to come crawling fast. They're fast movers, and you got to get to them quick. So when you take that lid off, you grab them up out of there fast. And I'm sure the predator-prey interaction out there will take care of that. I mean, I don't know. I really don't know. I suppose we're doing a bad thing by artificially increasing numbers here, but I'm not 100% sure. I suppose in a perfect system, there's definitely something out there that's going to take care of that. It doesn't matter what we do. We can always alter the situation and then correct it, I'm sure, once the necessity for correcting it shows up. Okay, so see how nicely I feel like I've really gotten my worms to the bottom now where the numbers are going to be real high, and I'm going to be able to restock the bin with like plenty of adult breeder size worms without having to stand and count. If I get really savvy with these bins and I start moving things over to the nurseries, now that I have nurseries, like I was procrastinating because I didn't really have nurseries. So, now that I have the nursery, see how now I can sprinkle them out on the top here. And if I see any really big fat breeder age red wigglers, then I grab them there. So I'm trying to grab them here as I turn them over. And I'm only looking for, I probably only have about 15% of the bedding left in here now. Cocoon level is really good. Happy with that. The bedding looks super nice for the, see the red, well, you can't even see really yet. I'm sprinkling this out on top. And then the red wigglers move a lot slower so you can grab them up. Okay, so now look, if I flip that over, you can see, look at how many worms are in there. So get rid of some of them Indian blues. You can see them, they're purple. They're really fluorescent looking. So it's like, do we want to down those numbers that much? Okay, take the fluorescent and throw them that way. Because this bin is really loaded with them, it looks like. Okay, so the other thing that I wanted to do was get the breeder bin prepped and ready. I'm a little worried with the way I'm getting them ready that they might be a little bit dry, so I'm leaving the lids on, but I'm going to add 5 handfuls. 1, 2, 3. Okay, this is my, I want that incorporated. I did put some in here, but I may want a little more. Okay, this is my, base layer. Then I'm putting my aphrodisiac bedding in. This is the, sheep's wool. I put a really good thick layer in there. This is going to take on moisture too, and when it does, I mean, it's got sheep urine in it. It's not been washed. It is raw. Whatever microbes that came from the ground that seem to like to live in the sheep's wool would be on there. So this reason I'm doing this right from the get-go is this is going to collect any moisture that's, you know, and then it will start breaking down. And oh, those worms seem to just love it. So that's my original kind of an aphrodisiac. So now I have my pre-compost that I'm going to be putting in there. And I just kind of work that in with my fingers a little bit. This was the bedding because I knew I wasn't going to have enough bedding to add to them all. I'm going to have to probably do more. Tomorrow I will be doing the Euro. I don't think I'm going to have room for all this bedding, to be honest with you. The old bedding, I didn't realize how much there is there. Okay, so that, and I kind of push it down into those that sheep wool. That's going to get that sheep wool started breaking down with whatever those microbes are. And then now we're just going to put this 15% on the top. I feel like it's going to be a little bit dry. So next week, I think we'll make it 1 week. I'm not going to worry about them. And then when we check them next week, we'll see how dry it is. And hopefully catabolism will create more moisture. Hopefully there's plenty of moisture in our pre-compost. So I've added a lot of worms, but I've removed all those cocoons. So I'm feeling like that's going to be the ticket. I probably should not reset them, maybe with all the smaller babies in this bin, but I do not want to count out worms. So I'm going to have to come up with a good plan. Now, if I decide I am going to do that and stay on this system of keeping these worms young enough, I could put that trap in there, trap all my adults, and then just pull the trap out, and hopefully the trap's going to have enough worms to be able to get the breeder bin restocked. Maybe not. I don't know. If all you guys that have been doing this knows, am I doing this wrong just by taking all these worms from the bottom and saying, oh, look, I am not going to count out however many worms it takes. Now, for some reason, I've seen a couple things. One was like 300 worms for this size. Well, my worms, either they're just scrawny little worms or whatever, but when I measured that, it was not a pound of worms. So I've heard other people say that they use a pound of worms. Okay, well, is it 300 if you're talking European night crawlers? Because I'm going to guess my 300 European night crawlers weigh about a pound. They are huge. But my red wigglers do not, so I'm thinking that there's something wrong there. I must need way more than 300 when it comes to. So I'm going to add a little bit more of this pre-bedding, or this pre-composted bedding. And oh, I hope after I go through this next cycle, the first cycle was totally learning curve like you would not believe. So I'm hoping that this next cycle will just be rechecking what I've already learned, how I already feel, and hopefully I get to this system where I do not even have to look in on these bins for like 3 weeks. I'm giving them the new compost here to give them plenty of food. They shouldn't need anything. Everything in here should be perfect for causing them to stimulate their breeding. When I check them next week, I think that it's possible. I mean, I'm not going to do it this time just because this is all new bedding, and I feel like they're not really going to eat anything of an aphrodisiac food that I give them. So I have a bunch of avocados I could add, but I feel like they're probably not going to go for it. So the aphrodisiac food supply, I don't think is going to be a real good choice right in the beginning, because I don't want another one of these fruit fly infestations. Nobody told me about the fruit flies. That was a learning experience. Okay, so I had to learn how to make a bunch of traps for fruit flies. So I feel like we've got plenty of bedding in here. No chance of it getting too wet. My only thing might be, is it getting too dry? That's why I'm going to put the lid on. And then next week, we'll just check for moisture and we'll see. We'll monitor. How long am I going to be able to keep these bins without having to turn the bedding? Long as my porosity's good, I should not worry about turning. And I think that's probably what the worms like better anyway. I don't think they like you in there turning them all the time. But remember, I'm still in the learning curve. So those learning curves are dangerous. You don't want to be in the curves if you don't have to be. In the curvy zone. Anyway. Shooty. I don't think any farmers are going to want to get to the microbial level at this depth. I think they'll spring for just buying the bugs in a jug. Oh, I'm too cheap for that. And plus, I love finding the uses for these throwaway items. People were throwing these leaves away on the curb. So I wanted to use them. Okay. I also have people all the time asking me if I want wool. And I'm like, look, I have so much wool. I can't. I just, no, it's not going to be. Now, woohoo, we just created a whole new market for the wool. The belly wool, especially. The seconds, the black wool, all that nobody wants to spin. Black wool doesn't, I mean, it's starting to come back a little, but we don't need that much black wool. The reason they all want the white wool is because you can dye the white wool, pretty colors. So, hopefully now everybody will start raising their sheep again because they want that wool. Now, let's update our beat system for the inspector. Should he happen to show up. Not that he's a he. Could be anything. We're foraging. I got to change all these beets down to base levels. And my moisture is still a medium. Because that's really my ultimate goal. But our population went to white. Castings are fresh. New bedding. So they're very light. The cocoons are very light. We are foraging. Okay, that updates our feed system. So I'm so glad you guys stopped by to watch me try to reset a breeder bin. This could be an epic fail in most people's books because I'm sure maybe I shouldn't even be calling these breeder bins. This is probably mostly more like a grower, only a small grower bin because it's got the little babies in here still, plus the little cocoons in here. But I think having the complete family together helps them thrive a little more. Don't know. I haven't done the science on that, and I don't know if anybody really has. I have heard a little bit of that talk. That's why I chose to do it. Anyway, it's just whatever works for you, your system. I'm not really farming for worms at all. I'm doing more of the microbes, but the worms help keep the bins healthy for the microbes. So that's why we want them in there. And the castings are very nutritious as well. So there you go. Thanks for stopping by. Give me some love and tell the world about microbial farming. And keep checking back periodically. Go ahead and hit the permanent subscribe button 8 months from now and check out our crops and how much we managed to get accomplished in this amount of time. There's still a lot that needs to get done, and I'm trying every day to take one more step further in the right direction.